In the misty hills of England, where the aristocracy resided in grandeur, a peculiar child was born to the esteemed House of Mordrake. Edward Mordrake, a name that would become synonymous with horror and fascination, entered this world with a rare and unsettling condition: a second face, small and twisted, attached to the back of his head. As a child, Edward's parents, Lord and Lady Mordrake, were beset with a mix of emotions: shock, fear, and shame. They consulted the finest physicians, hoping to find a cure, or at the very least, a way to conceal the aberration. But as the years passed, it became evident that Edward's condition was a part of him, a constant companion that would shape his life in ways both cruel and profound. The second face, though small, was expressive, its features contorted in a permanent scowl. It seemed to have a life of its own, moving and twitching independently of Edward's will. The family's servants whispered among themselves, claiming to have seen the second face smile when Edward was sad and frown when he was happy. As Edward grew, so did his isolation. His parents, fearful of societal ridicule, kept him hidden away from the world. They built a special wing in their estate, a gilded cage where Edward could live, learn, and grow without prying eyes. But this isolation came at a terrible cost. Edward's mind began to unravel, tormented by the constant whispering of the second face. The voice, a low, raspy whisper, spoke to Edward in the dead of night, tempting him with dark secrets and sinister desires. It told him he was a monster, a freak, and that the world would never accept him. Edward's grip on reality began to slip, and he became convinced that the second face was a separate entity, a malevolent being that sought to consume his soul. One fateful night, Edward's parents hosted a grand ball, inviting the cream of society to their estate. Edward, now a young man, was determined to make an appearance, to show the world that he was more than his condition. But as he descended the stairs, the second face twisted into a grotesque grin, and Edward's resolve crumbled. He fled the ball, disappearing into the darkness, leaving behind a trail of shocked and terrified guests. From that day on, Edward was a recluse, rarely seen or heard from. His parents, heartbroken and ashamed, abandoned him to his fate. One fateful night, in the dimly lit alleys of London, Edward stumbled upon a small, mysterious shop. The sign above the door read "Curios and Antiques." Out of curiosity, he pushed open the door and stepped inside. The shop was dimly lit, the air thick with the scent of old books and dust. Edward wandered the aisles, running his fingers over the peculiar items on display. That's when he saw it, a small, ornate box adorned with strange symbols and markings. Without hesitation, Edward opened the box, releasing a puff of eerie smoke. As the mist cleared, he saw his own reflection staring back at him, but it was distorted, twisted into a grotesque grimace. In that moment, Edward knew he had unleashed a terrible fate upon himself. The whispering in his ear grew louder, more urgent, and he felt his grip on reality begin to slip. The next morning, Edward's lifeless body was found in his chambers, the mysterious box clutched in his hand. The official cause of death was listed as natural causes, but those who knew him whispered of darker forces at play. Some say that on certain nights, when the moon hangs low in the sky, you can still hear Edward's anguished cries, echoing through the alleys of London as his parasitic twin continues to whisper its haunting melody. Thus, the tragic tale of Edward Mordrake came to an end, a cautionary story of the devastating consequences of delving too deep into the mysteries of the unknown.